class 7th. This is Kaushalya Rajpurohit, your social science teacher, and today we are going to discuss chapter 2, Inside Our Earth. Right? So, today we are going to discuss about what is Earth made up of. The interior of Earth. Just like an onion, the Earth is made up of several concentric layers with one inside another, right? So we all have seen onion, right? So even Earth have multiple concentric layers inside it. Most of our knowledge about Earth structure and interior is based on the density of the material and behavior of the earthquake waves. These waves reveal that the Earth behaves like a solid body up to a depth of about 2,900 km from the surface. The average density of the Earth is about 5.5 gram per cubic centimeter. The Earth is not composed of uniform material. The material of the inner layer are heavier than that of the outer layer. The density of the rock increases towards the center, right? So today we are going to discuss about the different layer, the different concentric layer the Earth interior is made up of. Interior of Earth. Crust. Okay, so on the basis of varying density and other physical chemical properties of rock, the earth can be divided into three concentric layers, and crust is the uppermost layer. Crust. The uppermost layer over the earth's surface is called crust. Crust is the solid outermost layer. It is also known as lithosphere. The second layer is mantle. Just beneath the crust is the mantle, which extends up to depth of 2,900 km below the crust. And the third layer, the third concentric layer, is core. The innermost layer in the core is the core with the radius of about 3,500 km. It is mainly made up of nickel and iron and is called knife. Now you can see in the figure, the uppermost layer is the crust, which is also known as lithosphere. The second layer, you can see the mantle, right? It extends up to that depth of 2,900 km. And the innermost layer, the red one, right, is the core, right? It is the innermost layer of the earth, and its radius is about 3,500 km, right? So these are the three layers the interior of earth made up of. Now the first layer or the uppermost layer is the crust. It is the thinnest of all the layers. You can see here the crust. Can you see the crust here in the figure? It is the thinnest layer, right? So it is the thinnest and the uppermost layer of the earth. It is relatively thinner. The upper part of the crust is also known as continental crust, which is about 35 km, right? So it is about 35 km on the continental masses and only 5 km on the ocean floor. So there is also a difference on the thickness of the crust, the lithosphere. It is much thicker at the continental masses and it is less thicker on the ocean floor. It is only 5 kilometers. The continental crust is made up of silica, alumina, and also it is also called as Cl. Oceanic crust is made up of silica and magnesium and it is called as Sima. The average density of the crust is about 3.0 gram per cubic centimeter. The outer crust has soil. It also provides us with the most of the minerals, right? So the uppermost layer, crust. Now the next, let us see about the difference between the continental crust and the oceanic crust. The main mineral constituent of the continental mass are silica and alumina. As I told you that continental crust is made up of silica and alumina. It is thus also known as Cl. Silica, Si for silica and Al for aluminium. You can see in the figure. The oceanic crust mainly consists of silica and magnesium, and it is also therefore known as SiMa. Si for silica and magnesium, Ma. Right? So there is a vast difference between the continental crust and oceanic crust. Now the next layer is mantle. Just beneath the crust is the mantle, which extends up to the depth of 2900 km below the crust. You can see the upper layer, the thinnest layer is the crust, and the second layer under the crust is mantle. And the third layer is the core, which is the innermost layer. The innermost layer is the core with the radius of about 3500 km. Now the core is also divided as the outer core and the inner core. It is mainly made of nickel and iron, and it is also called as knife. Ni for nickel and Fe for iron. The central core has very high temperature and pressure, right? So the temperature of this layer varies between 2200 degrees Celsius to 5000 degrees Celsius. So it is very hot. It has very high temperature at the center of the earth. The average density ranges between 5.0 gram to 13 gram per cubic centimeter. Now, let us discuss the minerals on the earth crust, rocks and minerals. Lithosphere is made up of rocks and minerals. The earth crust, or you can say the lithosphere, is made up of various types of rocks. Rocks are those material which are obtained on the earth crust. Any natural mass of mineral matter that makes up the earth crust is a rock, right? So everything that makes the earth crust is a rock. Rock can be of different color, size and texture, right? Rocks are made up of minerals. You can see here, we can see many colors, rocks with many colors and different textures. So rocks have many different colors, size and also texture. Minerals are naturally occurring substances which are present in the rocks. These are solid substances which have definite chemical composition. A rock in which a particular mineral is found in large percentage is called the ore of that mineral. Mining is mostly done in those areas where ores occur, right? So some of the rock have large percentage of mineral and hence they are known as ore of that mineral. Types of rocks. So there are major three types of rock: igneous, sedimentary rocks and metamorphic rocks, right? So igneous rock, what are igneous rock? On the basis of their formation, their texture, their color, composition, all these three types of rocks are classified. Let us see the igneous rock. Now types of igneous rock. Again, igneous rock is also divided into two types of rocks. Intrusive rock. Sometimes the molten magma cools down deep inside the earth crust. Solid rocks so formed are called intrusive igneous rocks. For example, granite. Extrusive rocks. When molten lava comes on the earth's surface, it rapidly cools down and becomes solid. Rocks formed in such a way on the crust are called extrusive igneous rock. For example, basalt, right? So igneous rocks are the rocks which are formed when the molten lava is cooled down. If it is cooled down, if the molten magma cools down deep inside the earth crust, then they are intrusive rocks. If the molten lava comes outside on the surface and then it cools, then the rock formed in such a way are extrusive rocks. Here you can see the difference between the both of the rocks. Magma cools within the earth's surface, then it is intrusive igneous rocks. If the lava cools on the surface, earth surface, then it is extrusive. Cools very slowly as it is inside the earth, cools very quickly as it is on the surface of the earth. Porous grain texture. So the texture of intrusive igneous rock is porous and grain, while the texture of extrusive rocks or extrusive igneous rock is fine grain texture. They have large crystals, they are small, and they don't have crystal. Extrusive igneous rocks do not have crystals. Example granite, and example of extrusive is basalt. You can see here the example of intrusive rocks and extrusive rocks. Gabbro, granite, dunite. You can see the picture also, right? So these are the intrusive rocks. They are being formed when the lava, the molten magma, cools down inside the earth. And the example of extrusive rocks are andesite, basalt, right? So these are the rocks which are formed when the lava comes out on the surface of the earth and cools down quickly. The next type of rock is sedimentary rock. Rain, wind, ice, plants and animals break rock into fragments. So the rock roll down, crack, hit each other and are broken down into small fragments. These smaller particles are called sediments of rock. These sediments are transported and deposited by the wind, water, etc. These loose sediments are compressed and harder to form the layer of rocks. This type of rocks are called sedimentary rocks. So sedimentary rocks are formed either mechanically like sandstone, chemically like salt, or organically like coal, right? So these rocks are the most widespread and cover about 75% of the total land area of the earth. So sedimentary rocks are formed when loose sediment compress and harden to form layers of rock. For example, sandstone is made from grains of sand. These rocks may also contain fossils of plants, animals and microorganisms that once lived on them, right? So these rocks are formed when the sediments, small sediments of the rock compress and harden to form a rock. These rocks are comparatively softer than igneous rocks. These rocks have horizontal layers and arranged one by one on other. So you can see here some of them have texture, they have layering, right, like a marble. Now the next type of rock is metamorphic rock. Igneous and sedimentary rocks can change into metamorphic rocks under great heat and pressure, right? So metamorphic rocks are formed from igneous and sedimentary rocks when these are under heat or pressure. So excessive heat and pressure can change the original properties of rock, such as their color, their hardness, texture, mineral and composition. Such changed rocks are metamorphic rocks. Example, clay changes into slate and limestone into marble, right? So marble and you can say limestone into marble. So these are the example of metamorphic rock. Okay, so act of metamorphism takes hundreds of years. So it takes many years, hundreds of years to form a metamorphic rock. Now metamorphic rock have some special characteristics. These rocks after change remain in their original position. They are very hard and have high specific gravity. These rocks do not have empty spaces in them, right? So these are some of the characteristics of metamorphic rocks. Gems can also be found in this rock. So this rock, due to the course of time, the limestone can change into the marble, right? So limestone changes into marble due to excessive heat and pressure. then again shell into slate, granite, sandstone into quartzite, so on, and gems can also be found on these rocks. Now uses of rocks. Now all these rock have number of uses, so let us see uses of rocks. The hard rocks are used for making roads, houses and buildings. Stone in many games, right? They are used for the stones are used for playing many games. For example, 7 stones, hopscotch, 5 stones, sources of mineral, for example, iron and gold, right? So rocks are the main source of minerals. Soil is also from the rocks. Chemicals found in some sedimentary rocks are also used to make fertilizer. Now let us see what is rock cycle. The change of one type of rock into another type of rock, right? Under certain condition in a cyclic manner is known as rock cycle. This process of transformation of rock from one to another is a rock cycle. When the molten magma cools, it solidifies and becomes igneous rock. These igneous rocks are broken down into small particles that are transported and deposited to form a sedimentary rock. When igneous and sedimentary rock are subjected to heat and pressure, they change into metamorphic rocks. So metamorphic rocks, which are still under a great heat and pressure, melt down to form molten magma. This molten magma again can cool down and solidify into igneous rock. So this is a continuous cycle, right? So when molten magma cools, igneous rock is formed. When igneous rock is broken down into small particles and these small particles are transported and deposited to form the sedimentary rocks, igneous rock and sedimentary rock under pressure and heat becomes metamorphic rocks, and these metamorphic rocks again can under great heat and pressure will be melted and to form a molten magma. And when this molten magma again cool down, it forms the igneous rock, right? You can see in the picture, right? It is continuous cycle, never ending cycle, right? So this is all for today. I hope you have understood the chapter very clearly. Thank you.